The next one is called Supporting Video Game Development. And it's a little bit about some going out in the world and learning about how others do things and bringing those learnings back to Malta. The session is being led by Melanie Debattista, who is from Malta Enterprises, the organ that drives foreign investment, and also our panelists Tim Cullings, Yvonne Filletti, and Charly Harbord. Take it away. An applause, please.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this panel. We shall actually be discussing how different stakeholders are supporting the ecosystem when it comes to video games development. Helping me in this discussion, I have with me Tim Cullings, Executive Director at the Global Game Jam. I also have Ms. Charly Harbord from Women in Games and also Director at Global Game Jam, and Mr. Ivan Filletti, CEO at Gaming Malta. First of all, thank you for accepting our invitation.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Ivan, I'll actually want to start with you. Gaming Malta is the main entity behind this event. What else are you doing to support this ecosystem?
Basically, there is no silver bullet to this, right? So it's always a sum of all the parts. From understanding the sector and understanding the needs and the wants of the sector. 2 is very, very hard importantly, to engage with the ecosystem, and we do that on a continuous basis from different networking events, getting people together, joining the dots, and to ultimately taking part in places like Playcon. But also at Gamescom, it was very exciting this year.
Yeah.
1, also to be back at Gamescom in Cologne, and 2, to see the activity around our stand as Gaming Malta. I mean, I remember attending Gamescom there, about 4 or 5 years ago, my very first time, all alone, and nobody knew about us, and seeing, having, then the Gaming Malta stand, which we've had over the last 3 years, and seeing it every year that we take part, it garners more in interest. Thirdly, what we're doing is we're identifying high potential ventures within the video game sector. So we have, as I mentioned earlier this morning, the incubator space, which we're very excited about, and we enjoy seeing the companies interact there together and also selecting the companies. We'll be looking at having an accelerator program around that also. And as I also mentioned maybe a bit this morning, underpin the most important thing by education. All our strategic efforts and promotional efforts will fail if we don't get the right talent pipeline along in this industry, which is probably one of, it's a challenging one. I don't say it's an easy one, because the war for talent is all over the world, so even in Europe. And so, we have a hard nut to crack there. And but we really want to continue developing. So with people like Unity, with people like Liberté, University, whom we're also connecting with, this sort of thing, trying to create programs and educational programs here, which will be plug and play for the industry.
Yeah, hopefully you're managing to attract some of these students to venture into.
Of course, of course.
Hopefully, yeah. Tim, going on the Global Game Jam, it's actually one of the largest conventions when it comes to video games development, right?
Yes.
How do you manage to keep the momentum from one event to the other? I think this will help also Gaming Malta for its future events.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And so when I get asked the most, really, because people are like, well, Global Game Jam only happens once a year, so what do you do the whole rest of the year? And like, exactly. I mean, honestly, it's like a 4-month cycle of preparation for the event, but we're also flying around to great events like this, meeting excellent people to talk about partnerships and sponsorships. But it's also all about the community, really, is what keeps the momentum going. Global Game Jam is run by and for the local communities in the area where they are. I myself am a local organizer in Seattle and have been running that version for 6 years, and that's essentially how I ended up here, was just running the version of Global Game Jam in Seattle and just getting inspired by how much of a great event it is and what people take away from it, and just the empowerment that they have to come and create and learn and try new things and meet new people and just break out of their shell and, you know, not be afraid to come in and fail and, you know, learn new things. So, yeah, it's really all about, we do what we can to empower the local communities and give them a platform to really showcase what they're doing in their area and talk about, you know, how Global Game Jam has impacted the community and the people there. Like I meet people at events all over the world that tell us the same story, that, you know, there was no game events or game industry in their area, but somebody put on a Global Game Jam event and they went there. They met somebody that was hiring. They met a person that, you know, knew somebody that got them a job, and they ended up at like GDC years later. So that's like, you know, that's essentially how we do it. And then we have smaller events throughout the year to help that the community can engage with, partner jams, we call them, where we work with other organizations to run jams about specific topics like mental health awareness or cultural heritage preservation, which Charly that's how she ended up here, was running a jam like that. So yeah.
Very interesting. Yvonne might have got some ideas what to do in the next couple of months. Charly, I think that the video game sector is quite male-dominated. Am I right there?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I want, you know, to get your perspective. Like, how are you trying to attract more females within the space? Like, are you helping them in any different ways, or?
So, I mean, that's quite a loaded question there. By doing things like this, half of this panel's female. Yeah. Which, you know, that's a step in the right direction. We have many mixed people in the audience. It's not just men, which is nice. So through Women in Games, we work with empowering women, creating these safe spaces for women to, the word that you used, fail, but fail upwards. Because you don't get on a bike and ride it and just work. You get on, you fall off, you learn how you did it wrong, and then that's how you learn any process. And the same with the Global Game Jam. It's all about empowering, and also that other word, in education. As you mentioned, I'm from Aix-Abertay University. We were the first university in the world to have a games design degree. I've now left them, and I'm at Global Game Jam, which is better. But yeah, it's creating these safe spaces and allowing people to understand that you can try something and you're not going to get it right the first time, but you will understand, whether it's Unity or Unreal or whatever you're using, you will understand it a lot more by going through those steps, taking those processes, making the mistakes. And Women in Games definitely is a place for females, non-gender binary, female identifying, male allies, where everyone can come and support and have these safe spaces, and also in line with education and everything we do as well at Global Game Jam, mentorship is a really important factor. And to be a mentor doesn't mean you can't also be a mentee. You learn every day. I learn from everyone around me. So.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for clarifying that. It's, you know, good to see that there's effort, you know, to have an inclusive ecosystem to keep developing the sector even further. Ivan, what kind of incentives have Malta put in place for the video game space?
I should ask Malta Enterprise that, right?
Yes.
Melanie, what kind of incentives?
No, actually, there are quite a few, of course.
There are quite a few, definitely. Yeah. So primarily, it's you know, we work extremely closely, and this is maybe reason for new guys here who are looking at you know, seeking incentives also from Malta. First of all, it's, you know, the very favorable corporate tax regime. Basically on the island, but more, we also have incentives like the highly qualified personnel incentives, where if you work in the video gaming sector, you know, you get a 15% income tax rate over a certain salary bracket. So those are all incentives which you know, make up. Then apart from, more importantly, what you know, Malta Enterprise is doing, you know, with the, you know, startup finance and all the business grants and incentives which they have there. And so we're developing that. What we're looking at also is creating more of venture capital mentality within the island. So we would like to have looking at VC fund also, which targets the gaming sector, though, so both video gaming and esports around that. And also, qualifying for more video gaming grants, which will have studios to continue funding their research and development, and their production side of things. So, as I said, there's no silver bullet. It's always a sum of all the parts there.
Yeah, definitely. And if I may add something there, Ivan, from a Malta enterprise perspective, we appreciate that a lot of the companies operating in the space are generally startup companies.
Yeah.
So, of course, there is financial support, which Malta can offer. But apart from that, we also have a hand-holding approach to these companies. So, essentially, a company who's still setting up can find Malta Enterprise, and Malta Enterprise is there to help when it comes to all the paperwork and perhaps bureaucratic processes which creators might not be very happy with. But I mean, if there's anyone who's interested, we'll be very happy to take this discussion further. Tim, in the panels this morning, there was a discussion in relation to funding, M&A, and venture capital in the space. Of course, the video game development space also is on the lookout for funding. Does the global game jam try to matchmake, let's put it this way, creators with financiers, or how does it work? Are you involved in that?
We don't do that directly, but we bring in sponsors like Microsoft, Sony, Epic, Unity. We have 33,000 plus people participating in the event around the world in over 100 countries, making upwards of 6,000 games in a weekend. And honestly, a lot of them are just prototypes, but it's the start of an idea. And a lot of people take those ideas and turn them into actual commercial products, which we then have connections with these publishers and bigger studios who we can help make those connections if people do decide to take their games further on into commercial products. So it's really up to the people who participate if they decide they do want to take their game further from just a game jam prototype that they made in a weekend to something like a full release. A game like Surgeon Simulator is probably the most famous one that came out of Global Game Jam. So yeah, it happens frequently, and we definitely have resources to help connect people when and if they do decide they want to make their game into a real release.
Okay. Charly, what would be your word of advice for anyone who is still starting in this sector? How do you start? How do you go about it?
You just try.
Okay.
You just go ahead and do it. You can always put something off till tomorrow. In terms of wanting to try games. So game jams are really an ideal place for this. You might not work in games, you might be a bedroom coder, you might be someone who draws for fun. So a game jam is a really safe place for you to try out what it's like to work in a game situation where you're simulating crunch, where you're simulating teamwork, where you're simulating sort of team friction. And that can give you a real nice taste of what it would actually be like to work in the game industry. But I would always say, give it a try. Unity, Unreal, all of these have really good educational packages. You can teach yourself. The tutorials are amazing. Also, their help and support is out there, and it's really useful. And I did used to work for a university teaching games, but you don't have to go to university to be able to make games. That's actually the non-traditional route. The traditional route is doing something completely different. One of my friends has a studio. They've just hired a new producer, and it's the best producer they've ever had. He was a football coach, but he knew how to deal with egos, how to bolster team morale, how to work to a deadline. So transferable skills, and that's the same for women, getting women involved in the game industry as well. Understanding that almost any skill you have is transferable to game industry. You don't have to be a coder.
Okay. Very interesting. I never thought of it in that way. Like the first thing which would come to mind would be, you need to be a coder, or you need to be able to code. No, not really. Okay.
No, just try.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the worst that could happen? a lot of my life is run on that rule.
Okay, good.
And sometimes the worst does happen, but I've still got both my legs, so I'm okay. But so you want to have a try at Unity, or you want to have a try on Blender. Download it, it's free, have a go. You might find that you're really good at it, you might not, but still at the end of the day, nothing's changed. So always take these opportunities when you get them.
Yeah, that's a very nice message for anyone who wants to start. Ivan, how important is this sector to Malta?
It's important. There's, first of all, primarily, we have secured a lot of political will around it. So we have set a KPI. So this isn't airy-fairy dreaming of us wanting just to have the industry. We wanted to account. There's an approved KPI by government whereby we wanted to account for 1% of GDP by 2030, looking at 2,500 employees against video gaming and esports, and so it's vital. It's also because it creates the right amount of talent. Right? It also converges with a lot of things that we're doing on the island when it comes to technology, blockchain, metaverse, etc. There's this whole convergence of technology, which ultimately comes into the video gaming and the esports sectors, and in big bold letters, we're creating opportunities for the young generation to work in very interesting jobs and very highly valuable jobs and all that, which I think that is a mission that I feel very proud of that we're taking. And once again, I know it's been mentioned today, but seeing the excitement of these kids here today, and exhibitors were telling me, they were actually stopping 8-year-olds and asking, so how do you design a game? What do you do? And they were giving them actually master classes, etc. So this is it, hopefully.
Yeah. It's definitely a step in the right direction,
It's a step in the direction. I think one thing which really embraces today is something which Neville Spiteri said towards the end of his presentation, right? He said that when he was 17 years old, he had to leave the island to pursue a career in software development and in gaming sector. He now feels, having come back here, recently, that now Malta offers this opportunity, and I think that's how important it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, I was just going to add to that. So educating for games, it doesn't have to start at university. So something that I did with my own game jam, which is a cultural heritage game jam, I ran it through schools and I ran it over 2 months so that it actually fitted into the curriculum. And we have Global Game Jam Next, which is also aimed at a younger age bracket and has that educational aspect as well. And it's about getting school kids engaged, getting them to understand that, it's not like saying, I want to be an astronaut, I want to work in the game industry, is actually a real thing you can do. And you have a very good chance of doing that. So this is another factor.
So it's never too early to start, right?
Or too late.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, good to know. Tim, if you had to give like a final word of advice to anyone who's still starting, they don't know perhaps anything about the sector, it's still something new to them, what would be your word of advice?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's been said already. Just give it a try. Find people in your area. Look on, we have the Global Game Jam Discord. There's groups like the International Game Developers Association that also exist to help people connect with other game developers or people interested in game development in their area, and just reach out to those people and make connections and say, hey, I want to try this, and do your best and give it a shot and listen and learn. And there's other people that have already done the things that you're trying to do, likely, and all that knowledge is out there. Mm-hmm. You just have to go looking for it, and don't try to just do it by yourself. It's all about the community and finding the right community, like the community that's growing here in Malta and communities all over the world. There's people out there to help you on your journey. People like us at Global Game Jam. So that's what I would say.
Most of us are approachable.
Okay, good to know. And of course, I believe that social media, of course, does facilitate connecting with the community.
Yeah, just find people on Twitter that are doing what you want to do and follow them, or LinkedIn, and ask questions. A lot of times, people, if they have time, they will respond and give you answers. So, and be respectful. And they're people too, and they have lives and other things going on. So, but most people in the industry are pretty approachable and happy to share their knowledge and wisdom with people that are looking to get started.
Yeah, I hope that message goes through to the kids, because sometimes they might think, the people who are already in the industry might be too busy to take any notice or give me any advice. But that's a very good advice.
No, that's one thing I've noticed is people are really open and welcoming all throughout the industry, and just want to help and give back and help the next generation of people get involved and come up and be successful.
Yeah, Ivan, perhaps your final word of advice to anyone living in Malta who wants to start and venturing into video game community.
I would suggest don't do it for the money, do it because you love doing it. First of all, that you have a real passion, for what you do. It's. But then, continue training. It's okay. There's a university and MCAST, and they train you, etc., etc. But you never stop learning. Especially with all the new technologies, coming up. It's a constant journey. But basically, also network, connect with us with Gaming Malta. We can put you in touch with the right companies, and there's going to be quite a number of other events also when it comes to recruitment. So we're looking at that. Also, if I'm not mistaken, Keywords and Sperasoft will be having kind of recruitment day, your recruitment day on Saturday, 12th November, which is at our offices also. So we have our own auditorium. So we're creating an event there also. So it's good that young people will start to attend these events and understand really what's happening.
Yeah, I think that's actually very interesting, because you can get a feel of what the industry is looking for.
That's it.
So,
that's it.
Yeah.
And the skills required.
Yeah, definitely. I think our time is soon up. I'm not sure whether you want to add anything to conclude.
Join Global Game Jam. We're running it the first weekend in February. So,
hey, good luck with that.
Good. Anything to add,
I
Tim?
expect you to join.
No, I'm just excited to be here and meet all these fine people and learn more about what's happening here in Malta. It's really exciting, and
very exciting.
It was an inspirational opening this morning from Ivan, just listening to all the work that's going on here into building the community, and just had me thinking about all the work that I've done similarly in Seattle, where I'm from, with Seattle Indies. We're a nonprofit similarly that is kind of like the connecting point for game development, independent game developers in Seattle, and we've been doing that for a decade now. And just thinking back on all the lives that we've affected and touched, and helped people become successful game developers, it's really powerful to think that all that work led me to be at a place like this, which I never would have imagined ever. So I'm happy.
Your final word, Ivan?
We're home of gaming excellence, and come and taste a bit of home here.
Very good advice.
And I would just say there's always room at the table. Sometimes you have to bring your own chair, but there's room there for you, so pull up a chair.
Yes, it.
There we go.
That's very good. Thank you very much for your time. I think
Thank
it
you.
was very inspirational to anyone who wants to go into this industry, and thank you everyone for following this panel. Thanks.